Do not live to satisfy the expectations of others. Stop seeking recognition and free yourself. Hi, welcome back to UQ. Today I would like to talk about the book, The Courage to Be Disliked. This book was written by a Japanese psychologist and philosopher, Ichiro Kishimi, but the book is based on individual psychology founded by Viennese psychiatrist Alfred Adler. The main message of this book is 1. All of our problems are interpersonal relationship problems, and 2. So in order to free ourselves from these problems, we will need to deny the desire for recognition and separate our own tasks from other people's tasks. Don't worry if you don't understand what I'm talking about. I'm going to explain in detail. If you are the kind of person who cares too much about what other people think, or you have some relationship issues, or you want to achieve something but for some reason you cannot take action, I strongly recommend you take some time to read this book or at least watch this video. In this video, I would like to go into the details of the 3 main points that had the most impact on me. The first point is teleology rather than etiology. Don't worry if you're not familiar with these words. Adler believes that human behaviour can be explained by an individual finding their true purpose. This is in contrast to Freudian etiology, where human behaviour is explained by a cause. Many people believe people act in a certain way due to a cause, but in Adler's psychology, it is believed people act in a certain way due to a purpose. Imagine your colleague is in trouble with his boss and the boss is yelling at him. When you look at the situation, you might think, oh, he made a mistake? Most people think there must be a reason why the boss was angry. Something caused his anger, but in Adler's teleology, this would be denied. The reason the boss is angry and yelling at your colleague is not because he made a mistake, but because he has a purpose, because he wants to control your colleague, or he wants to show his superiority. The boss's behaviour is derived from his particular purpose. It's an interesting concept, isn't it? You might not be convinced yet, but even if your colleague made the same mistake, if he had a different boss, that person might not get angry. He might calmly tell him what to do to rectify the mistake. The same mistake would not necessarily produce the same reaction. If you focus on the cause, the same cause should end up in the same result. But people react differently. Why? It's because their goals are different. If the boss wants to control you or wants to show his superiority, he would get angry. But if he just wants to recover from the mistake, he would just tell him what to do. Or if he truly wants to learn a lesson and grow, he might give him useful advice. Your goals shape your behaviour. So what is the moral of this story? Don't dwell on the past and rationalise your own behaviour based on your previous experience. This way of thinking should be encouraging, but could be harsh on some people. Many people blame their upbringing for their own choices, behaviours or beliefs. Some might say because of my upbringing, I cannot have a decent relationship. But in Adlerian Psychology, your upbringing has nothing to do with your current relationship problems. You probably have some issues with your own personality, but because you don't want to reflect on yourself, you blame the past or your parents. If you really want to have a good relationship, you can make an effort to build a good relationship from now on. It's that simple. Or some might say, I was bullied as a kid, so I cannot communicate well with others. But in Adlerian Psychology, your experience as a kid has nothing to do with your communication skills. You are just dwelling on the past. Your goal here is to protect yourself from feeling bad, getting hurt, or being disliked. To avoid these risks, you just blame the past. If your real goal is to have a good conversation with others, you can change your attitude right now. Adler denies trauma, but I have to point out just in case, in reality, people have trauma. If you went through abuse or a tragic experience and you suffer from trauma, then you'll need to seek medical advice. But if you are just blaming your upbringing, your past or your circumstances, you will need to realise you are justifying your action or non-action. If you want to change your life, your behaviour or your habits, you can change from now. The second point is separation of tasks. This is also really important to live a happy life. This means you have your own tasks and just focus on your own tasks. We need to think about the perspective of whose task is this. Separate your own tasks from others. You can control what you do, but you cannot control what other people think of you. So don't even try to interfere with other people's tasks. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Just like, even if your child doesn't study, you can encourage him or set up an environment, but whether or not he or she studies is not your task, but his or hers. If you interfere with other people's tasks, they will either rebel for freedom or become dependent. If you constantly worry about something, you might be trying to solve someone else's tasks. Just focus on tasks that you can control. Even when you are worried about something, if it's your task, there's always a solution, something that you can do about it. So instead of worrying, you can take action. For example, imagine you're a sales rep and you have some sales goals. That's your task. You can make every effort to achieve that goal. But whether or not your boss will recognise your hard work is not your task. It's your boss's task. Even if you work hard, achieve the goals and be sincere and you still receive an unfair evaluation and you are not happy about it, your next task could be to look for another position or change your career. It may not be that easy, but you can move on rather than being stuck on a problematic situation. If you just hope that the boss will change or the situation will improve somehow, you will just end up being disappointed. Hoping or even trying to change someone is just interfering with someone else's task. This also means that you have to live your life for yourself, not to satisfy someone else's expectations. Adler also denies desire for recognition. We all have a desire for recognition. At school, at work, or from your friends, you always seek to be praised. When you look at social media, everyone tries so hard to get likes and wants to be someone everyone else envies. Desire for recognition only leads to unhappy lives because you do something not because you want to do it, but because you would be praised. Your choice in life is influenced by how your parents, your friends, or someone would think about it. That's not living your life. If you keep seeking someone else's recognition, your task is not separated from others' tasks. Your goal depends on someone else's reaction, which is out of your control. We are all raised this way. We were praised for good behaviour and punished for bad behaviour. And having some desire for recognition is part of our natural emotion. So in my opinion, it's impossible to completely ignore the desire, but at least we need to focus more on our own goals, not what other people think. Think whether it's your task or someone else's. Focus on the things that you can control. The third point is to build horizontal relationships. Adler says, do not praise others. This is surprising, isn't it? We tend to think giving compliments is one way to build a good relationship. Children always want to be praised for their work. It's hard to imagine raising kids without praising them when they did the right thing or did something well. Why should we not praise others? It's because when you praise, you are creating a hierarchical relationship and seeing other people as beneath you, and it also encourages the desire for recognition. Personally, I don't necessarily agree with this, as people give compliments to those who they look up to. If you go to a restaurant and the chef is well recognised and the food was excellent, and if you have a chance to talk to the chef, you would say, the food was fantastic, or something like that. It doesn't mean you are seeing the person beneath you. Yet, in Adlerian Psychology, it's not recommended. Instead, you can show gratitude. Saying thank you to a person doesn't create a hierarchical relationship. In this current world, people are competing with each other and craving recognition, but showing gratitude won't promote the competition. Instead, it promotes the sense of contribution. In Adlerian Psychology, contribution is more important to live a happy life. It is scientifically proven that giving is more rewarding. A 2017 study published in the journal Nature Communications found that generous behaviour is neurologically correlated with happiness. A study by Chicago University also found that giving to others will make you happier than receiving. The advice not to praise may not be applicable in certain situations, but at least keeping in mind that showing gratitude may be a better option in some cases would help. Contributions to others is important, but you have to bear in mind that when you do something for someone, don't expect to be appreciated. Today, I talked about the best-selling book, The Courage to Be Disliked. To summarise, there are 3 important points. 1. Denial of etiology. Human behaviour can be explained by teleology. Don't dwell on your past experience. Don't justify your action or non-action using your experiences as an excuse. If you choose, you can change yourself right now. 2. Separation of tasks. There seem to be a lot of challenges in our lives, but clarify whether it's your task or other people's. If you interfere with someone else's task, you will end up being disappointed or exhausted. So don't try to change others. Focus on things you can control and try not to crave recognition. 3. Build horizontal relationships. If you praise others, it will encourage the desire for recognition. Instead of praising others, say thank you and show your gratitude. To add my personal point of view, I think it would be very hard to fully implement Adlerian Psychology. It's natural for us to have a desire for recognition, and it's natural to praise others. We get motivated by recognition from others. So I don't think you need to completely deny recognition, but the point is, don't let people control you. At the end of the day, this is more of a philosophy than a psychology, so just bear it in mind to keep control of your life. Of all the lessons I talked about today, I think the most important thing is to focus on things you can control. It's the same concept as the first habit from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is be proactive and focus on your circle of influence. If you haven't watched my video about that book, I recommend you watch it as well. The book, The Courage to Be Disliked, can change your view of life. There is much more to the book than what I talked about today, so if you are interested, please pick up the book and read it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button below. See you next time.